How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee, structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
I'm Jimmy Uland, and I farm close to Prosper, North Dakota. I've been with Ellingson for about a little over a year. Their engineering department seems superior to others. They seem to think the way I do, where I'd like it to drain, and whereas other companies sometimes drain it what's easiest or whatever, whereas Ellingson seems to do what's best for the field. Sometimes Ellingson's been a little higher, but I'll hire them just because of my confidence in their engineering department. They've been real good to work with, and when they tell you something, they carry through with it. So.
That was Jim Uland with his views on Ellingson drainage.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us today. It's 106, temperatures around 55 degrees. Full check on the forecast coming up in just a moment. I'm Meteorologist Justin Storm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, and as always, well, most times, Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And guys, welcome back. How's it going? Ready for another great afternoon of Weather and Ag?
And the gang's all here today, too.
I know, it's the first time in like 2 weeks?
Pretty close. Pretty close.
I only missed yesterday. Just one.
This is true.
Right.
That's a good point. Dean missed like 5 days.
5.
I missed once.
5 days. Felt shorter than that.
I bet it did.
We received quite a bit.
You didn't miss us.
We were, well, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, I missed you enough to call poolside.
You had to call in the one day.
Yeah, so I must have missed you a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some rain overnight. Man, we got some rain, and some of that added up to be quite a bit. Bridgette, up and down the valley, we're looking at, let's see, around the Hillsboro area, over an inch. Here in the FM area, we picked up pretty close to 3/4 of an inch. Most of it was right around the valley. You go east into Lakes Country, not as much. You go west. What is that going to do for the sugar beet harvest now?
Oh, but I have an update for us. First of all, we are really closing in on the end of the sugar beets, because if you look at what's happened year to date, there are 12 million tons, that have been harvested. 12 million tons. Total ton stockpile in the last 24 hours was just shy of 500,000. And when you look at the reporting stations, overall, Drayton is probably the furthest behind at 94.6%, but they do have a heavy concentration of sugar beets up there. We are at 97% harvested for sugar beets just through American Crystal.
Good.
Things have gone well.
Great.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. So really, this will hold us up for a little while, but we have a majority of the sugar beets that have been harvested. Some growers may get more acres released that they can harvest as we move our way through the next few days of weather. So if there's a field that can't get taken off in one factory district, maybe some other place, more sugar beets could be harvested and brought in. We'll see what happens.
You know, that raises a question when you just said that. You can't just, things are good, you're rolling, you're making good time. You can't just take out your whole field. You have to do it in fractions or percentages based on what the factory wants. So you can only, let's say, example, you have to leave 30% of your field until these dates or something.
Well, you have a number of acres that you're contracted for. So you know how much you're going to be raising from the get-go. And then remember, you're on shifts. So you have to be harvesting within your shift. If you have more acres to harvest outside of your shift, you've got to wait for somebody else to finish before you're allowed extra time. And then also that still has to fall within what you have for contracted acres or how many acres American Crystal needs overall. So it's some fine tuning. It's not just a NASCAR race to get to the end. You have to know exactly where you fit into that lineup, you might say.
Interesting. All right.
And we were talking yesterday with Angie about, like you said, it's not a NASCAR race to the finish. And unfortunately, a lot of times there's accidents that have that occur, when we're running a little low on sleep. What have you heard anything at all,
as
Bridgette?
far as accidents are concerned?
Yeah, for the sugar beet harvest.
I listened back to the audio from all of you and Angie yesterday. First of all, oftentimes, unless it was something that happened on a highway, you're probably not going to hear it. I mean, if there was an incident in the field, that's likely not going to be something that's reportable. But accidents are always going to happen, whether it's minor from accidentally catching your thumb and smashing it into something, or two trucks run into each other or sideswipe each other in the field because they got too close together as they were unloading, off of a harvester into the truck, something like that. Now, in addition to your discussion about combine fires, Justin, you had a last minute email question, and do you remember what it was? Because if not, I can recap that.
Yeah, I got it somewhere in here. It was Brian was wondering, couldn't a lot of these fires be prevented by better design on the equipment so the dust isn't really getting in on the manifold or the hot parts of the combine?
A couple of the equipment manufacturers on newer models are looking to encase some of those areas in stainless steel, et cetera, to try to keep dust out of there. So that could be something that we see on newer model combines going forward. The downside is we were so dry this year and so dusty. And think about the days where we didn't have a lot of wind. That dust would just hang in the air on the equipment. And so it was hard to get that away from the hot spots on your machine unless you were blowing it off with an air compressor, using a leaf blower to blow it clean. There is a farmer at Kindred. He went ahead and now carries a water tank. He's got it mounted on the back side of his grain cart. And then he's got a little motor there that he can fire up, and it's got a spray hose on it. So if he sees a combine fire, the grain cart in the field acts as a mini fire truck to help in that situation. So it's not totally perfect. Yeah, during sunflower harvest, you'll see people dragging chains off their back axles to try to break up the static electricity. That can sometimes spark a fire due to a lot of the fines that Angie talked about, whether it's in a soybean harvest or what you see in sunflowers as well. But they're trying to do different things to keep it from happening. But Dean, you remember what it was like driving the combine, or when we were at Big Iron? That is a big machine and a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely.
A lot.
Now, Justin had a point yesterday, and I told Justin this might be his ticket to famous status.
A few million
in his pocket. Justin was saying, in kitchens, like restaurant kitchens.
Yes.
There's this. If it gets too hot, automatically we'll just foam everything over. Is that something that could be done with conceivably with farm equipment?
Think of a couple of things. One, if you have a suppression system on a piece of equipment like that, what's the cost, right? Because everything's got a cost associated with it. Is it worth it? Would your insurance company give you a discount for having that versus not? What model years will it apply to? Newer models, older models? I was in a discussion about this just over lunch, and we talked about if you have that engine compartment with what do you want to call them? Basically like the slats. What are those called? Louvers. A louver would close up. So if it detected too much heat or a flame, the louvers would close up around the engine system. And then instead of spraying a foam or a water in there, there can be some compressed gases that would displace oxygen to literally smother the fire. So that could be a possibility. So those, I'm sure, are things that are being looked at and thought about. But also just remember, when it comes to these machines, again, they're big. It's not just in the engine compartment. It can be a rock on the header with a lot of straw, and that can go right up through the header into the feeder house. You can think about straw coming off the choppers on the back. So there's just so many moving parts, metal on metal, where you have these dry conditions and those things can happen. So just a few thoughts from yesterday.
Right on. Well, I'm glad you shared them with us, Bridgette. Let's see. We got a few things also will be coming up on the program today alongside, again, a check on the forecast. We'll be talking with our guest, that's Marsha VanLear, later on this afternoon in about 10 minutes or so. And that's going to be Bridgette, do you want to introduce who Marsha is and what she kind of does? I think you can explain it a little better than I can.
And hopefully she's joining Dean in studio here shortly. Marsha is actually one of our Here We Grow sponsors. She's with Gowan Company, and what they do is provide products like a Fiance fungicide or badge herbicide that we can use in our soybeans for our Here We Grow project. Additionally, Marsha is a volunteer with North Dakota Agri-Women, and they are hosting the Harvest of Knowledge, which will be an event held in Grand Forks here at the end of the month. And so she wants to talk about the availability of tickets, who's on their program, and really the history of North Dakota Agri-Women as they celebrate their 40th year. It looks like Dean either got his groceries delivered or Marsha's
Marsha brought us in some very good snacks here. And let me turn Marsha's mic on there. What did you bring us today, Marsha?
So I had a very prolific garden this year, and I have cantaloupe bread.
Ooh.
So cantaloupe bread, which I had 4 loaves, but 2 loaves didn't make it, so.
And we've got some other goodies.
And then this past weekend, so I had a ton of watermelon left over, so I made a watermelon lemonade concentrate that you can cut with water or ginger ale or your other liquid beverage of choice.
There we go.
And then I also made watermelon strawberry jelly.
Dean Wysocki, get your hands off my groceries.
Too bad you guys aren't in studio today. You can kiss these things goodbye. Especially
Car took the wrong week to go down.
What's the one? What's this here?
That is watermelon lemonade concentrate.
Oh yeah, that's gone.
That's Bacardi mix.
That's Bacardi mix. That's exactly what that is.
Let's just say Agronomy on Ice might have a new drink this year.
Marsha.
Nice.
Oh my. So many good ideas. Okay, we've got lots of things that we're going to talk about. And I bet we're probably going to touch on the weather continually, right, guys?
I think we'll touch on that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think anyone wants to hear about it.
You don't want to hear what's coming next week. We'll just leave it at that.
I don't think anyone wants to hear it.
No.
Well, except for me. Yeah. So there's your hint. You already know.
Not funny. I don't appreciate this type of discussion.
Oh man.
Okay.
Well, what do you think, Dean? Should we hit that forecast quick, or should we leave everybody in suspense?
Jacob just told me I was number 1, which means I think we have to go to commercial break here. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Livestock is mixed, with feeders leading the downside. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risvet with this market update. Early gains in live cattle futures seem to be eroding here this afternoon, although the overall lack of volume as traders enter the last half of trade seems to be the lull that is eroding initial losses more than any fundamental or significant technical market shift. Cash cattle trade remains generally undeveloped, although a few asking prices are seen in the south at 185 and higher live basis. While northern asking prices are still hard to pin down, bids are still elusive, which at this point is likely that active trade is probably being pushed off until tomorrow or later, unless a major shift is seen in the market until then. The gains in nearby contracts are offset by a light to moderate selling pressure in deferred contract months. Given the moves in all contracts midweek, overall market direction remains unchanged and could continue to hover in the current range over the near future. Now, pressure in the feeder cattle futures is the focus of market weakness in today's livestock trade. Although there is no significant long-term shift in the numbers, the overall pullback from gains earlier in the week and moderate price swings in grain trade is allowing for feeder cattle futures to show further pressure. January futures are leading the complex lower, although the lack of volume in these contracts today may limit the validity of the price moves as far as overall market trends are concerned. However, the focus on firm pressure in nearby contracts is enough to add some concern to the market today. We'll get a look at the livestock numbers. You're listening to the American Ag Network.
At Peterson Farm Seed, we like our agronomy as strong as our coffee. We never compromise on quality, and that means tens of thousands of replicated research plots across the region, and sharing our agronomy expertise with you. If you're that kind of farmer, we're your kind of seed company. Come tour our plant and plots in Prosper, North Dakota, and meet our crew. Or let us come to your field to talk all things agronomy. We'll bring the coffee. Our goal is to help you raise more bushels. Peterson Farm Seed, we're that kind of seed company.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Look at the livestock numbers. Live cattle October up a dime at 185.60. December up 27 at 187.15. February up a dime at 191.10. And the April live cattle, they're down a nickel at 193.75. Feeders October down 130 at 247.50. November down 65 at 249.80. Lean hogs December up a quarter at 67.80. And the April lean hogs, they're down 22 cents at 78.77. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvet.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
Well, welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I want to thank everybody for joining us 1:20 in the afternoon. And our special guest, and she's been on the show before, Marsha VanLear. Marsha, welcome.
Thank you.
For anybody that's not aware of what you do, explain what you do.
So my real job is I am a chemical sales rep for Gowan Chemical USA.
Okay.
My territory is northern Minnesota, all of North Dakota, eastern Montana. So I get a little traveling in, which makes it nice because we were talking about pheasant hunting. And
right.
last year I did actually talk to a customer, and I'm like, well, he wanted me to come look at his field. I'm like, well, I'm throwing in the dog and the shotgun, so sure. Worked out great.
There you go. Oh, so Bridgette, you want to start off here?
I can. So
right.
Marsha is also one of our sponsors for our Here We Grow project with Gowan. So we thank you for that, Marsha. And additionally, in her free time, as we say, Marsha works with North Dakota Agri-Women. So it's their 40th anniversary. Marsha, what's Agri-Women? Fill us in.
So, two things. So North Dakota Agri-Women does turn 40 this year. It is women that are involved in all aspects of agriculture. What we do, we work at the state level with legislation. We do have a seat on the Ag Coalition Board. So when ag issues come up in the government out in Bismarck, we actually have somebody that sits on that board and brings any issues back to us. And then she asks, members how we want to vote, what our thoughts are, which is really cool. We work within schools. We don't really go out on the national level right now, but we're working back towards that. Currently, our president is part of North Dakota Farm Bureau, Alicia Nord-Donley. Cindy Pulskamp, who is also with the U.S. Soybean Board, is our secretary. Jenna Kello, who works for Kello Trucking out of Larimore, so she gets to deal with the trucking industry, which gets interesting from what I understand from day to day. She's out of Larimore, and then I am currently the treasurer. We're active throughout the whole state, although most of our membership does tend to be on the eastern side. We would love to have people from the western side join as well. And then we do tend to try to do a summer tour every year. So we try to go to different parts of the state to kind of see what agriculture in different parts of North Dakota look like. Summer of 22, we were at Carrington, so we went through the Carrington Research Center, looking at the northern fruits, which was very interesting. And then had to go visit Cows & Co. Creamery because, gelato and Gouda mac and cheese.
Right.
And then we also went to the wine tasting at the winery out there. Prairie Sun Gardens, I think, is the name.
Yep, that's it.
And then, so like I said, North Dakota Agri-Women turns 40 this year. But our event, which is called Harvest of Knowledge, is actually technically 41, but we did skip 2020 due to unforeseen circumstances. So we're celebrating our 40th anniversary for the Harvest of Knowledge.
That's a big asterisk on, how long it's been held and what happened in the meantime. Very nice.
Yes, the history has been really interesting talking with committee members that have been on it. We still have one person on the committee who has been on there for all 40 years. And just really how Harvest of Knowledge came to be was ladies from the North Dakota side of the Red River, ladies from the Minnesota side of the Red River, really wanted to get women involved in agriculture into a one-day event where it's socializing, it's networking, it's learning about different aspects of agriculture, especially with the 80s. We know what the 80s were like. The farm economy was, in the toilet.
Brutal.
Brutal.
Yep.
So it's been really interesting to kind of see the rise of how this event has come. And as far as I know, it is the longest running women's ag program in the upper Midwest.
Wow. That's awesome. And it looks like that's next, not this Friday, the 27th.
Yes, it is. It is Friday the 27th. We have a new venue this year, so it will be at the Alara Center. Go through doors 4 and 5. Registration has closed right now, but if anybody is interested, we still have some spots available. If they actually reach out on the Facebook page and just message us, we can kind of walk them through the registration process.
How many are you expecting for attendance?
Right now, we have 158 registered, which is
nice.
That's
amazing.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Yes, it's pretty amazing.
So, Marsha, I want to go back to North Dakota Agri-Women before we talk everything Harvest of Knowledge. So you said being part of the Ag Coalition Board. Do you have a little bit of a definition of what the Ag Coalition Board is, or who serves on that besides North Dakota Agri-Women?
So the Ag Coalition Board is basically made up of the ag industry in North Dakota.
Okay.
I don't know exactly who all sits on that board. Our representative is Cindy Pulskamp, and she could actually speak more of what goes on with that. I just see what she sends out to the membership. I know I want to say they deal with some of like the S-Bear stuff, or if it's ag issues. When it came a few years ago with the electronic posting and some of the trespassing and stuff like that, that actually went to the Ag Coalition, and we were asked, our thoughts on it.
And let's define that a little bit. So when you say, the posting and trespassing, that's having to do with hunting, right? With property rights and whether or not people could hunt on there if it wasn't posted, that type of thing.
Well, not just hunting. It's pretty much everything. So it actually, if I remember correctly, that actually came about because of what happened out around Bismarck during the protests, the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Trying to keep people off property if that wasn't something they had permission to be doing.
Right.
And then also one of the things that you mentioned that Ag Coalition also works with is S-Bear. And just to define S-Bear, that is the state board for ag research and extension. And so that governs a lot of what happens through the extension service over at NDSU. So I think that's just helpful for folks to know what that term might mean as well.
Yes.
Who can be members of North Dakota Agri-Women, and are there dues, that type of thing?
So anybody is eligible to be a member. We invite women to be members.
So Justin's not allowed. Would Justin be allowed in?
Justin, if he pays his dues.
Okay.
So it's really anybody that is interested in agriculture, or any woman that's interested in agriculture, is encouraged to join. Our dues are $20. They're paid yearly. Our annual meeting is normally end of February, beginning of March. Or end of February into March, weather. Gotta love weather some days.
Always love it. Marsha, is there anything you get out of this? Let's talk about that, kind of the things you guys get to do together, anything that you get for being a part of the Agri-Women, things like that.
So it's really, you get out what you put into it. And this isn't a voluntold organization, although it kind of seems like that some days. It's really, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. We have members that pay their dues, and they really, they're not able to join the annual meeting. They're not able to really go on any of the tours, anything like that. But if there's an issue that they want to talk about, they can bring that to the membership. Membership dues go to paying our Ag Coalition seat, our Ag Coalition dues. It goes to That's probably our biggest expense right now. Then we also sponsor an Egg Day Baby. So what we do is we send forms out to all the hospitals in North Dakota, and hospitals, if the first baby born on Egg Day, if it gets sent back to us, they're given a $100 gift certificate. We've had participation in that has tended to go down just because of HIPAA laws. So like in 2023, we did not give anybody the gift card. Nobody sent in the information, I should say. Which we also volunteer at the Red River Valley Fair. So we do one day in the Egg Education Building, which is always interesting. It gets fun. Some of the questions that come through.
How much have you seen it grow over the last, let's say, 10 years?
So I've actually only been a member for probably the last 7 years.
Okay.
And our membership has grown. We're currently right around, I want to say 58 members, which when I first started, I want to say the membership was probably in the 20s.
So doubled, more than doubled.
So, we've been actively recruiting new members. The Harvest of Knowledge really helps with that. It's a growing organization, which is a good thing, because there was talk at one time about, possibly with the dwindling membership, people just didn't want to do anything anymore.
All right. Well, that puts us, I should say, at the bottom of the hour. So we have to take a little break here. Don't go anywhere, though. And if you have any questions for Marsha or for us, feel free to give us a call on our Red Wing Shoes hotline. That's 701-293-9000. That's 701-293-9000. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hi, Teresa here from the Fargo Red Wing Shoe Store. Get ready to strut your stuff confidently, like a duck in a downpour, through rain-soaked streets and muddy fields. Come see us and make a splash in a new pair of Red Wing boots. No more soggy socks or chilly toes. Our boots are built tough to keep you warm and dry. Why settle for anything less? Step into style and weatherproof your feet with a new pair of Red Wing boots. Red Wing shoes for ultimate durability. Quack.
Think pink and help make a difference, because during Pucklich in Valley City's Why Pink event, we're donating $100 for every vehicle sold and $10 for every service repair order. Help us reach our goal of $10,000 donated to the JRMC Cancer Center and the Sanford Roger Maris Cancer Center. So think pink and help make a difference as we raise $10,000 donated to the JRMC Cancer Center and Sanford Roger Maris Cancer Center during our Why Pink event at Pucklich Chevrolet GMC in Valley City.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Tucker, WDAY News First. A 19-year-old Fargo man is hospitalized and recovering from serious injuries after the State Patrol says he crashed his pickup truck into the back of a semi. It happened last night just before 8 o'clock on Highway 46, 6 miles east of Kindred. Troopers say Evan Friedrich was able to get out of the pickup truck before it caught fire. The semi-driver was not injured. Charges have been upgraded against a Wahpeton man for a deadly hit-and-run crash in Wahpeton last Thursday. 52-year-old Chad Olson is facing felony charges of criminal vehicular homicide and duty in accident involving death or injury. Troopers say Olson was driving a pickup that struck 20-year-old Bailey Bernstein as she was walking with her mother near the airport. Bernstein was taken to an area hospital where she died from her injuries. Cass County Sheriff Jesse Johnner says he and his staff are really struggling right now because of overcrowding at the jail.
We've got a lot of people in custody. We're over capacity. Last week, I think we were around 400. Our capacity is 348.
Johnner says arrests of homeless people are contributing to the jail being overcrowded. He also points to a backlog of court cases caused in part by the COVID-19 pandemic. The sheriff says population growth in Cass County is also a factor. Tom Tucker, WDAY, and WDAYRadioNow.com.
Exergen thermometers are the smart choice when selecting a thermometer. With children back at school, keeping them healthy is important. Got a fever? Stay home. To detect fever accurately at home, you need a clinically accurate, fast, and non-invasive thermometer. The Exergen thermometer is backed by over 100 clinical studies. Accuracy matters. Be smart and safe. Measure accurately with Exergen thermometers, available at Walgreens and other participating retailers. Learn more at Exergen.com.
You're all set with your Medicare prescriptions, Mrs. Brown.
This is not just low-cost copays at Walgreens.
I can actually help you set up 90-day refills if you want.
This is having a partner you can trust. Get low-cost copays, 90-day refills, and delivery from your neighborhood Walgreens. This is being independent. Together. Walgreens.
Restrictions apply. For details, see walgreens.com/pharmacy.
Darius, look who just figured out how to find my Medicare plan options. Just typed in my zip code and boom.
This is not just a search tool.
Look at you go, Mom.
This is Walgreens making it easy to find a Medicare plan with low-cost copays. During open enrollment, use Walgreens Find RX coverage to help you find the right Medicare plan for you. This is being independent. Together. Walgreens.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
Oh, my God!
Welcome back, and thank you for all of the sounders. It's kind of like roll call. If you're here, we push the button that makes your noise. I'm the barn door. Moo.
Who's the goat?
Dean.
That'd be the screaming goat.
You haven't played your leaf blower.
We'll get
Dean
that
Wysocki
later.
Kawasaki.
There you go.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. That one right there.
That's the one.
Thank you to a couple of our sponsors for our Here We Grow project. Those would include Dakota Bank and Dakota Insurance. We really appreciate all the time and effort you have made in helping make our project a success. And Dakota Insurance is an independent agency that can help you find what you need for any of your insurance needs, whether it's from farm and home, personal, and car. Then North Dakota State Services. Thank you also to Mark Wagner for the work he has done with us and helping many in our region to make sure that they have things in line for a lasting legacy as they pass on, whether it's their farm or personal property, from one to the other. So make sure you call Mark Wagner with North Dakota State Services. Our guest today is Marsha VanLear with Gowan. But you know what, Marsha? You and I have...
She owns the place, right?
Well, she and I have been in the industry long enough that people just associate you with your company. So you could be Marsha Gowan. I think for a long time, I was just Bridgette Dow because they just knew us for the companies we worked for. Not a lot of females involved. They just knew us. And one of our mutual friends and a host who's stepped in for me from time to time on this show, Sarah Levis, she made sure to let me know that when we said SBARE earlier, I almost had it right. State Board of Ag Research and Education, not Extension. When Sarah was nominated to that board at North Dakota Agri-Women, was one of the groups who nominated her, and she received that appointment via the Ag Coalition election. Sarah's the first female to serve as chair of that board. So she also is part of the Harvest of Knowledge of women in this area, as well as Marsha is. And let's talk a little bit about your function that's coming up here in 2 weeks, Marsha. Harvest of Knowledge in Grand Forks. Who are the speakers? Who's going to be talking about all the great things at Harvest of Knowledge?
So it's a full lineup of speakers this year. We have Elaine Cubb and Christy Van On, who are going to be doing a marketing panel. So they'll be talking about grain markets, bring all your questions, comments, anything like that. Both ladies have been in the industry forever. Okay, maybe not quite that long, but they have done this. They know the markets inside and out. They know the risks, anything like that. So pretty excited to hear those. We also have Tamara Bertram, and she is from the UND. I got to look at this just to make sure I have it right. It's the UND Innovation Training Specialist for the Center of Innovation, and she runs the Innovation Studio. So I don't know a lot about what this is about. It has something to do with taking back to your farm, to your business. If there's anything that needs to be or that you want to try, the Center of Innovation is supposed to be. I'm sounding terrible when I say this because I mean it's also UND, so I got to be a little bit careful. Bridgette and I know, and yes, it was a tough weekend for the bison. We know that.
It was.
So what she does is she works with small to large businesses and nonprofit organizations to identify challenges and facilitate a generation of innovative ideas and solutions. So it'll be really interesting to listen to her and hear, how we can make things better. How we can kind of grow from what she has to say. The other one, we have Brian Werner, and he is with the Minnesota Biofuels. He is the executive director of Minnesota Biofuels. So he'll be talking quite a bit about alternative fuel energy, especially on the bio, so soy diesel, stuff like that. He actually has a pretty long resume as well. So he has worked out in Washington, D.C., working with funding and everything like that. I'm really excited to hear about him, what he has to say. Our lunchtime entertainment is going to be Jessie Veter. So Jessie and her husband... So Jessie and her husband actually run Jessie's Family Ranch out in Watford City. She has written a book, Princess on the Prairie, I believe is what it is called. And then she also has a column in the newspaper. I've listened to her. She's a singer. She's a storyteller. We had her in Northwood at the Performing Arts Council, and just really fun, really upbeat, energetic. And I think she's going to make the lunchtime go really, really fast. And then we will also have kind of a government relations update with Cindy Smith. Now, Cindy Smith actually works for Gowan USA. She is our government relations, so she works closely with the EPA. She does a lot of lobbying out in Washington, D.C. She also sits on different boards with the Weed Association. She is, I have to get it right because otherwise she will get mad at me. Yes, and I don't have it actually in here, but there we go. CropLife America. So CropLife America is a organization that chemical companies pay dues into, and what CropLife America does is really kind of brings the chemical industry together. So Cindy actually is chair for a few different committees within CropLife America. She works closely with our lobbying supporters out in Washington, D.C. And then she also works a lot with like California, different grower groups, different commodity groups. This lady has her pulse on what's going on in Washington, D.C. It's always interesting to get her take on what is going on in Washington, D.C. Now, Dean told me that we're not going to have snow, so that's good. Because hopefully. I said Cindy might disown me since she lives in Las Vegas. And, she does a lot of work in Yuma, so she might disown me if there's snow.
Oh, man. Now, Marsha, you've been out in the fields this year. You deal with a lot of the growers. What did it look like in terms of crop condition? And did it look good? A little, not so
Depends
good.
on where you're at.
Yeah.
Out in western North Dakota, northeast Montana, conditions looked really good. Harvest, from what I understand, the yields out there have been pretty decent. Mm-hmm. I actually was talking to one retailer that they had to do a little bit of a mini crop scouting school out there because they didn't know how to count wheat tillers. They're not used to having tillers out there. And Bridgette knows what I mean by that. They're not used to having a
good crop out there. Yeah, they aren't used to having this rainfall.
Yeah, I mean, when you sit there and look at it, so my boss is actually from around Dickinson, and he, Mom got two inches of rain last night. I'm like, oh, great. We haven't mowed our yard in like 3 weeks, but sure, whatever. I mean, it's been interesting hearing the different things. I was surprised to hear some of the wheat yields. I was actually expecting probably worse yields than what we got. So that was really comforting to know. But now the problem is trying to get some of these guys to do some of their fall field work, and if they should be putting a pre-down in the fall instead of waiting until spring, but then they don't know what it's going to be like in the spring, and we just don't want to do that. And it's, you guys, you know you're going to do it, so just do it now and get it out of the way. But that's a whole different topic.
But the moisture for next year is going to be huge. That's awesome.
Yeah, actually, it was, we had water at the end of when I left this morning, we had water at the end of our driveway for the first time all season.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't had that.
Well, we've had, so our LRC cycle just started. We're about 10 days in, a little more than 11 days in. And it's starting out mild, but it's starting out wet for at least from the southern valley and points southward. So for areas that need the moisture, this bodes well for winter and into spring. But areas that have been dry so far for the first 11 days, and again, it's just the first 11 days, but that could go a long way. We'll have to wait and see. But
how does that go with the woolly bear thing?
The woolly caterpillar.
Yeah, the woolly.
Is there any truth to this?
I like to think this is a little bit more accurate than the woolly worm. Oh man!
I was wondering, Marsha. We were kind of talking about crop conditions out there, but what were people getting hit with the hardest over here in the valley and over in the northwest Minnesota? Was it? What was hindering them more? Was it just the lack of rain? Was it fungus? Was it insects, disease, anything like that really hit people pretty good in the area? Or was it just mostly lack of rain that did us in?
It was really mostly lack of rain. There was some Cercospora and sugar beets. We did see that. But it wasn't as big of a season as we normally have, it seems like. Insects, grasshoppers were the bane of everybody's existence again, and they seemed to be earlier this year, but we didn't see a lot of treating. There were some field edges, field margins that got treated, but there's no whole crop that I saw around the valley or northwest Minnesota that got hit. It was, like I said, some field edges got treated, and that was about it. And to be honest, white mold, conditions weren't there.
Right. Well, why don't we run down one more time the event that's coming up on the 27th, when and where, and then how people can get information and possibly tickets if they want to go to it, Marsha.
So the event it's the 40th annual Harvest of Knowledge. It will be held at the Alaris Center on October 27th. Registration starts at 8 a.m. We recommend people to go in through doors 5, 4, and 5. So that you don't have to walk all the way through the Alaris Center. Go to there's a Facebook page. It is the 40th Annual Harvest of Knowledge Facebook page. So go there and send a message if you are interested in still attending. Registration is $60, and you can pay that the day of, or you can send a check earlier.
Right on. Well, thank you, Marsha, for coming in and telling us a little bit about the event and the organization. We got to catch up with our sponsors. When we come back, we'll take a look at that forecast. We got a few ag topics to get to, and as well, any questions that you might have on the Red Wing Shoes phone line. That's 701-293-9000, or emails weatherorag@flagfamily.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Devastated your portfolio? If you're tired of financial salespeople who just sell you a product and move on, then it's time to call Collins & Kronk today. See how they're different. At Collins & Kronk, they start with a plan and a strategy, then proactively manage your money to meet your goals. Call the team at Collins & Kronk, 701-235-0119. That's 701-235-0119. Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Collins & Kronk is not a broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services.
With Jiffy Lube Multicare, it's our job to make car care make sense. With personalized service reviews that swap the car talk for straight talk, so you know what your car is telling you and what to do about it. Where highly trained service technicians have your back, helping you take care of the small stuff before it becomes big stuff. Plus a full range of services from Pennzoil oil changes to tires, brakes, batteries, and more. We've got what your car needs, so you're ready for whatever's next. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care, that's a job for Jiffy.
Jiffy Lube, 620 Dakota Avenue, Wapaton.
My life was destructive. My life was empty. I was pregnant and alone. My name is Kirsten, and the Perry Center showed me I belonged. I immediately felt at home. The Perry Center provided me with structure and helped strengthen me as a mother. I am crushing my goals and finally excited for my future. The Perry Center gives women opportunities to learn life skills and build confidence knowing who they are in Christ. Would you support women like me at your local maternity home by going to perrycenter.org? That's perrycenter.org.
The mission of Olivet Lutheran Church in Fargo is to tell the story of Jesus' love for all people without exception. Worship with us Sunday mornings at 8:30 at our traditional service, 10:30 at our contemporary service, or Wednesday evenings at 6. Join one of our many ministry groups, like the Olivet Choir, Bell Choir, Bible Studies, Women's Ministries, Quilting and Crafting, or volunteer inside and outside our walls. For more information, go to olivet.org. Encounter Jesus, experience grace at Olivet Lutheran Church.
Okay, so what do Americans do at least once per week? Yep, get their vehicle washed. Take some pride in that ride and take it to Tommy's Express Car Wash. Yeah, it's a system to get you the best car wash, fast, and your vehicle looking great. 4 Tommy's Express Car Wash locations in Fargo on 32nd Avenue and across from West Acres, and in Moorhead on South 8th Street and on US 10. So take care of that fly ride at one of the 4 Tommy's Express Car Wash locations in Fargo, Moorhead. Tommy's Express Car Wash.
Farmers, when you get stuck in the field, make the call to Oaks Truck and Trailer. Pulling equipment out of the field can be dangerous. Why not leave it to the pros so you don't get hurt and your equipment doesn't get damaged? With 40 years of experience, Oaks Truck and Trailer is trusted far and wide when it comes to large equipment, diagnostics, analytics, and repairing farm equipment. Next time you find yourself stuck in the mud, call Oaks Truck and Trailer. Online at oakstruckandtrailer.com.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
Oh my God!
4. Do we have a 5th? Do I hear 5? Going once.
Oh my God.
Going twice.
First it was polar vortex. Then it was bombogenesis. Then bomb cyclone. Now the new one is thunder snow.
Could we see some of that by the end of next week?
That's a very fair question to ask there, Dino.
Very fair question to ask. We could have
hit it.
We'll see how this pans out, but I have a funny feeling this storm system that just came through here, I don't know if this will be one of the signature storms of the LRC cycle, but this will be very interesting when this comes back in cycle number 2. It's going to bring some pretty significant snow, I bet, to the northern and central plains. We'll be keeping an eye on that in cycle 2. But next week, that could definitely be one of the signature storms of the LRC cycle because, boy, oh boy, it's a little far out, and we've got to wait and see how it pans out. But we're getting signs there could be a potential big storm in either the northern or central plains, more likely the northern plains. as we head into late next week.
Hold on.
Bridgette
I
has
have
her
some
hand
questions. I have my hand up. I need a little.
Next week?
Yeah, you're not going out of town.
Are you driving to Montana?
Why? Okay.
You tell me what you're driving to.
Yeah.
So we know where the
That's
storm
true.
is going to go.
Yeah, I heard I'm the new LRC planner. Is wherever I go, the storm shall follow.
Yeah.
But okay, let's say it does have a weather event next week. It may be snow, it may be rain, but I would think it's not lasting because the ground's still fairly warm, right? I'm right, aren't I?
No. Reckon back to October 11th, 2019. 23
No, I can't.
23 inches
That
of
was
snow.
fun day.
Now the ground was still warm then. It didn't last long. A lot of it melted, but if you're getting snowfall at that kind of rate, it's going to stick. It's going to be a problem. So
We can't have this kind of thing this early. I put my vote in for like snow after Thanksgiving. You got that, right?
that would be nice.
Guys.
That would be nice.
I mean, yeah.
Guys.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was telling Janae earlier today on the coffee club, she about lost it, and she didn't believe me. She's like, well, that's not anywhere anytime soon. I'm like, well,
all signs are pointing to it.
It's in a 14-day window.
Yep. It's in fact, let's enjoy the mild weather before that, because we do have some pretty nice weather heading in here for the end of the week. Today, not so much. We're stuck in the clouds, temperatures in the 50s. There's been a few breaks in the clouds in the Northern Valley where temperatures there have pushed close to 60, and I think we'll push the mid to upper 50s today. We're in the low to mid 50s right now, but most of the rain is pretty much done. Maybe a sprinkle here or there. But other than that, we should be pretty quiet. And then tonight, mid to upper 40s, and then the sunshine returns tomorrow, low 60s. Winds not too bad. Winds really do ramp up on Friday, though, as a clipper system passes to our north. But we'll warm up ahead of that into the 60s, probably the mid 60s. Some spots a little bit warmer than that. And then we'll kind of taper it back down to near 60 over the weekend, which is still above normal. Our normal highs are in the mid 50s, and we're well above that. We'll start off next week a little cooler, and then if we do not get snow by the end of next week, and there's no guarantee on that. The one guarantee that does look like is we turn much colder with temperatures in the 30s and 40s. But looking out past that, it looks like we warm right back up that first week in November. So I don't see this being a long. Like, all right, we're gonna flip the switch. All right, now we're going into winter.
Bust out the jackets, kids.
Don't see that, but just keep up to date on the forecast for late next week, especially if you have any traveling in the Northern Plains. So, Bridgette, please tell me you're not going anywhere.
Where are you driving next week?
I guess I should just go pack my winter pack my winter survival kit after the show.
Oh,
never mind.
Good night.
It'll be fine.
What days are you traveling?
I can't say that they've been completely determined yet, but yes, I was planning on like Wednesday, Thursday next week.
Wednesday will be okay. Thursday will probably be okay. Maybe.
Where are you going to? Maybe? Where are you going?
Justin's like, not anymore. I don't know if I want to tell anybody where I'm going, because people are just going to cower in fear when I show up from now on.
You should tell us, because then we know where the storm's going to hit.
She's like Jim Cantori. When he shows up in your town, you know you're in trouble.
It's a frightening situation,
going
gentlemen.
Going
so
west,
sorry.
South Dakota?
Probably to the west. So I guess those guys in Montana.
We shouldn't be laughing.
I'm telling you, wherever you drive is more accurate than the LRC is.
Unbelievable.
I am never going to be invited anywhere again.
No.
Fine.
Should we put a ribbon on this thing?
I guess.
All right. We want to thank everybody for joining us today on Weather and Ag in Focus. For Bridgette, for myself, for Justin, and for the Screaming Goat, we want to thank you for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow. Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.
Attention all growers and ag retailers. Tired of losing the war against wild oats? It's time to